As the epic 5.8 mini-class globe race begins, is your inner sense of adventure whispering to you that this is your passion too? Let me take some guesses. You're primed with interest to set sail and explore the open waters yourself, but you have zero experience, no boat, and a healthy fear of the unknown. Well, today we're just going to blow all of that stuff out of the way. Hi, this is Captain Tom again. I'm a U.S. Coast Guard Master Mariner, Captain, and have helped hundreds of sailors in embryo to achieve their dreams. In this video, we'll not so much talk about the 5.8 sailors themselves or the globe race. Today we want to talk about you. Remember that all of the 5.8 sailors were at one time just like you. Also remember that myself, along with my students, have also been just where you are now as well. However, in our case, we've taken it to the next step, and since then we have sailed every ocean and competed in yacht racing at the highest national and world championship level. This video is about you lighting that fire, even when the odds seem completely against you. In this video, we'll show you how and where to start sailing right away, right now, even if you've never stepped on a boat before. Worried about having to buy a boat and afraid of all of its surprises and expenses? Don't be. Worried about the potential danger and unsure of your ability to take this on? Don't be. Worried about whether you'll ever be comfortable or have the skills and judgment? Don't be. I'll show you how, where, and what it takes to start this journey. In time, you'll be amazed at where you have come and regretful that you didn't do this sooner. I'll even make a deal with you. If you watch this video to the end and enact its simple steps, you will have a golden opportunity, and possibly many, beyond the deck of a sailing boat in 60 days, with zero previous experience and without a boat. So what are you waiting for? The world is truly your oyster. So let's get started. But first, if you like this content, please punch on that subscribe button as a bookmark and set the like and the notifications. Okay. Got those punched? All right, let's move on. So I'm going to start with a quote by a famous American philosopher, Ralph Waldo Emerson. So he liked to be called Waldo by his friends and family. So here's what Waldo said. That which we persist in doing becomes easier to us, not because the nature of the task has changed, but because our ability to accomplish it has increased. Think of any skill you now have and the first time you accomplished it, and how overwhelming it may have seemed at the beginning. Driving a car, learning the computer, the trade in your profession, and sailing is no different. In the beginning, it may seem impossible to even begin, but in this video, we're going to talk about where to start and how to keep going. As Waldo said, skills will take care of themselves as time goes on. So I'm going to start with resources that begin at the more involved level and then go to a more casual pastime level. You'll see what I mean when I get into it. I'm also not going to talk too much about schools here. No, I'm not at all against sailing schools. In fact, for decades I've been teaching sailing through schools. Many are very excellent and will fast-track your journey. To a point. In order to gain the judgment and experience, though, you'll need to go beyond the schools. Remember the classes you took when you learned to drive? Think of where you are today from when you took those classes. So I'm just going to divert just a little bit here and talk about schools. So how do you pick the right school? I would say use your judgment in the same way that you would pick any professional service. And I would have to say that the best sailing teacher I ever had, other than my dad, was a local on the Pacific island that I lived as a kid, who had no accreditation at all. We didn't even communicate in the same native languages. But he was a master of sailing in the sea, and he earned my trust. I still think of his advice all of these decades later. Okay, so let's move on to answer our main question. Where do I start? So I'll say that where you don't want to start is with buying a boat. So let me tell you a story. Years ago, I worked for one of the major sailboat dealerships in the U.S. And in the spring, I was on the team that commissioned the new cruising boats that were sold. Back in the day, sometimes there were as many as 25 boats that we'd commission. And some of these boats were up to $500,000 or $1 million a piece. It's a pretty healthy dealership, I'd say. What I noticed was that during the season, many of these boats would be used only a few weekends during the whole season and often never went for more than an afternoon sail, even though many of these were what we would call blue water boats. So as I commented this to my boss, he replied, "We sell these boats to people who believe that in order to play tennis, you have to buy the tennis court first." I would say that most of these boats remained with the original owner less than 3 years, often only one. One 50-foot boat, I recall, went for sale after the owner experienced their first thunderstorm. Well, somebody got a great deal on a 50-foot boat. So you don't have to buy the tennis court first. Let's get that straight. Before I go into these sources, I just want to mention that none of these sources endorse me or sponsor me in any way. This is just on my own volition. So the first source we'll talk about is an app called Go Sailing. Go Sailing will work on your mobile phone, and it'll allow you to connect with all sorts of boats and owners really all over the world. It is primarily intended for people who want longer commitments, journeys, deliveries, and so on and so forth. Many of the owners will take people without experience. Some of them will require some experience. However, it is a good way to get connected to a lot of different situations. The only caveat with these or any of these is you want to make sure that if you go on a voyage with somebody, that the boat is in good shape, that the owner is reputable, and so on. I have been on boats, voyages where the owner was in the process of selling the boat, and the boat was not really ready for navigation at the time. So you need to be a little bit cautious about that. Try to ask the right questions and know know what you're getting into. And this is the same with any type of situation like that. So I would consider this the same as trying to find a vacation rental like an Airbnb. You know you're going to have to probably have some air travel involved to get to where this is. So you want a reasonable commitment that it's real and so on. So I've had students that have had a fantastic experience with this. So by all means, check it out. The second source I'll go into is a little bit different angle than Go Sailing app. It connects you through a YouTube and Patreon channel called Chasing Latitudes. The creator's name is Chris, and he's a professional and experienced yacht delivery captain. As you'll see in his creations, he's not only a delivery captain, but also advises newer sailors who are ready to buy the tennis court, so to speak. He invites patrons to accompany him on his deliveries. He seems to know a lot about what he's talking about and is a hoot to listen to, and he tells it like it is. I'm even considering hopping on for a delivery with him sometime. It would be a blast. Like the Go Sailing app, this is more of a single multi-day experience. We're talking about journey and deliveries that are likely days in length. So if you have some experience, and especially if you want to get your feet wet in boat ownership, by all means, check Chris out. Chances are you'll end up sailing some big new hot catamaran that he's delivering. The third source is a club-based crewing app, Rail Meets. Technically, it's an app for Android and iPhone like Go Sailing. And as a statement, I would say that absolutely the best way to get consistent experience over a long term is to be part of a club-based race crew. You'll have the opportunity to step on as a beginner as a rail meet, keep the boat flat, and work your way up from novice to wherever you want to go with it. You can stick to local club races or get recruited at the world level as you gain experience. This is how I fill crew spots for my one design campaign, Tally Ho. In this method, potential crew members request to be part of a crew for a boat at a particular club, and you interact with the boat owner or the skipper. Many yacht clubs, like Wayzata Yacht Club, where I currently am, have 4 to 5 races a week, some with up to 100 and more boats, with crew counts of 400 people on the water for an event. So there's lots of opportunities. You'll have a chance to rub shoulders with sailors ranging from Olympic gold medalists to coaches to absolute newbies. Lots of opportunities that you can scale up to your level of experience and time commitment. And these time commitments are generally maybe only 2 or 3 hours long at a time. And also they could go up, for offshore, it could go maybe 2 or 3 days. But it tends to be more periodic. It's something that you periodically set up for. It's not a one-time event typically. So the fourth source I'd mention is just to go out and make requests to yacht clubs that are near you at yachtclubfinder.com. They exist all over the world, and I use this myself. All of these yacht clubs need crew for their racing events, and there's no better way that I know of to get started by just jumping on a boat and being with a great crew. And that's whether you eventually intend to cruise or race. It really doesn't matter. I use this method if I'm traveling internationally and I want to hop on as a crew for a race where I'm going, and I have skippers that I know all over the world. So far I've been to a club race on every continent except Antarctica, but who knows, maybe even that will change. So there you have it. I'm sure there are sources other than this, but I think this is a good start. Start this way, and not only will you have opportunities to choose from without a boat to start with, but you'll feel your fears melt away and skill and judgment takes its place. So let's look at our 5A class sailors again and see where they're going. I'll be following along with them with videos in the future as they pursue their adventure of the Ancient Mariner. Until then, thanks for watching, and if you haven't punched that subscribe yet, punch, punch, punch!